This is all I have. I have to try.
Spider-Man is bloody brilliant, not because of the web slinging or wall crawling, but because he's the most human superhero ever created, wrapped in the perfect paradox of extraordinary power to ordinary problems. Today, we're diving deep into the web of brilliance that is Spider-Man, from his perfectly flawed origin story that redefined what a hero could be, to the psychological genius behind his relatability, and why after 6 decades, Peter Parker still feels like the kid next door who just happens to save New York between algebra tests. Let's start with something that sounds completely backwards. Spider-Man's origin story is brilliant precisely because it's built on failure. Think about it, every other superhero gets their powers and immediately becomes better at life. Batman uses his trauma to become the world's greatest detective. Superman uses his alien heritage to become humanity's beacon of hope. But Peter Parker, he gets cosmic power and immediately screws everything up. The night he gets his powers, what does our future hero do? He lets a criminal walk free because it's not his problem. Classic teenage logic, right? Except the criminal murders his Uncle Ben 3 pages later. Boom! In one devastating moment, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created the most psychologically complex superhero origin ever, where the hero's greatest failure directly causes his greatest motivation. You want to talk about relatability? Peter Parker is the only superhero who has to choose between saving the city and making rent. He's the only hero who's ever been fired for being too reliable at his other job. The guy literally has anxiety attacks about whether to reveal his identity to the girl he likes, knowing it could put her in danger. This isn't just storytelling, it's emotional archaeology. Spider-Man digs into the fundamental anxiety of growing up, the terrifying realization that having power doesn't make you wise, and that every choice you make ripples out in ways you never expected. Now let's talk about something that separates Spider-Man from every brooding hero in a cape. The guy won't shut up. And thank God for that, because his wisecracks aren't just comic relief. They're a masterclass in psychological defense mechanisms wrapped in spandex. Picture this, you're a 17-year-old kid facing down the Rhino. Your options are pretty limited. You can either have a complete mental breakdown, or you can start making jokes about his fashion choices. Peter Parker chose option B, and it's genius. His quips serve 3 brilliant purposes that most people completely miss. First, they're psychological armor. When you're making jokes, you're maintaining some illusion of control, even when everything is falling apart. Second, they're tactical weapons. Nothing throws off a supervillain's concentration like being roasted by a teenager in tights. But here's the third reason that's pure storytelling gold. Spider-Man's humor makes him the most human character in any fight scene. While other heroes are delivering stoic one-liners about justice, Peter's cracking jokes because that's what actual people do when they're terrified. We use humor to cope, to connect, to survive. It's the most relatable superpower ever created, and it doesn't require any radiation whatsoever. So here we are, 6 decades later, and Spider-Man has quietly revolutionized not just comics, but storytelling itself. Every angsty superhero, every flawed protagonist, every hero who struggles with the weight of their own power, they all owe a debt to that scrawny kid from Queens who proved that being relatable was a superpower. But here's what makes Spider-Man's brilliance timeless. He doesn't just reflect our anxieties, he shows us how to handle them. When life gets overwhelming, you crack a joke and keep swinging. When you mess up, you take responsibility and try to fix it. When choosing between easy and right, you pick right even if it costs you everything. It's a philosophy disguised as a comic book character, and it's been quietly teaching generations how to be better humans.